South Africa has one of the more scarce water. What would you call it? But is it access to water? Our access to water is scarce, so we don't have a lot of water here.
Right, certain parts of the country. Well, it's interesting because now, right, there have been floods in different parts of the country.
Right.
So when we talk about access, we talk more about access to safe drinking water and also sanitation. So whenever we talk about water, we should also refer to sanitation because currently we mostly use water-based sanitation. And for example, the Western Cape can be a very dry region, and as we've seen in the past, there's certain areas that dams are extremely low and we don't have access. But then it's less for me about, yes, there are areas that are dry and there's difficulty access, but it's because we're still often working on a centralized approach to water. If we start to localize our approach, I think, for example, rainwater harvesting, where you can actually access water where you are and save that and use that water, then we could start to address it. And it's happening. You know, Department of Water Affairs is very progressive. The Minister is very active and progressive in terms of different solutions. But we, I think, need to approach it more the way nature would. And nature's decentralized, as opposed to our traditional approach, which is centralizing power, centralizing water. And we need to start looking on a more local level to address this.
What are some things we could do on a local level to address this?
So I mentioned rainwater harvesting, you know, so people could start to have their own tanks.
Is that expensive?
It's not expensive relative to if you look over a period of time. I mean, water is due to go up in price over the next 5 years considerably. We've had a good run in this country with water being made very affordable. And if we look at the way that energy has gone and power, I'm sure that water is heading in the same direction.
Wow.
And so we need to preempt that by looking at more alternative solutions to the problem, which are being explored, but I think we could do more to fast track that. And working together in communities, how we treat our wastewater, so what water are we actually flushing out, how do we reuse that, and how do we capture it, how do we what's called, I guess, when you allow water to soak into ground better so that it can be used in the soil. So agriculture is the biggest user of water in South Africa. I think it's almost accounts for over 70% of the water use. And meat is actually a very large user of water.
You wouldn't think that.
Right. So we're big meat eaters, right? And cow, beef, you know, uses a lot of water for growing of the grains that are fed to the cows, and of course the life cycle and the grass, etc. So that's where we can, as individuals, start to look at our lifestyle choices. You know, what do we eat? How are we farming? How are we capturing water? And then, of course, your basics in terms of turning off your taps and showering for less time.
Well, where can people learn how they can save water on a day-to-day basis, if they want?
Yeah, I think the city, for example, of Cape Town, I'm in Cape Town, we're in Cape Town, you know, the water department has a good section of tips. Then obviously the website forloveofwater.co.za helps to direct people to different pieces of information around these issues. So that's the intention behind Flow, is to try and unify all the different pieces of information and sectors to provide a single point of information, really.